Of the many state questions that Oklahoma voters will have to decide in November, one in particular has a lot of people scratching their heads. State Question 777 has been dubbed the Right to Farm Amendment by those who say the state constitution needs to be amended to ensure the future of farming and ranching in Oklahoma. Meanwhile, those who oppose the question have nicknamed 777 the Right to Harm Amendment. Ranching and farming are the pillars of which the state's economy was built upon, and they're a cherished way of life for generations of families in rural Oklahoma. In fact, working the land and raising livestock has been around before statehood. So now, in 2016, comes State Question 777, dubbed the Right to Farm Act. But haven't Oklahomans always had the right to farm? A lot of questions were raised on that topic during a forum at the Oklahoma Policy Summer Institute for college students held at the University of Tulsa this week. Michael Kelsey, the vice president of the Oklahoma Cattlemen's Association, told the audience why he believes State Question 777 should be passed.
So we've seen agriculture come more and more under fire from special interest groups. Specifically, two were mentioned, PETA and HSUS. And they've gone through and done campaigns in different states to try to legislate how farming and ranching should take place.
Former Attorney General Drew Edmondson represents the opposition to 777.
I want you to know right off the bat that right to farm or freedom to farm is not in here. You know, I mean, that's what they call it, but it's not. So if you're looking on the ballot for something that says right to farm, you're not going to find it. Which is why we refer to it as right to harm.
The ballot question asks voters to guarantee the right to make use of agricultural technology, to make use of livestock procedures, and to make use of ranching practices. And it also says, this extra protection is a limit on lawmakers' ability to interfere with the exercise of these rights. Under this extra protection, no law can interfere with these rights unless the law is justified by a compelling state interest, a clearly identified state interest of the highest order.
In it says we have a constitutional right to farm and ranch, which nobody has ever questioned. And it says basically subject to no regulation.
Edmondson says the proposed constitutional amendment in 777 is dangerous because once in place it would be almost impossible for legislators to make new laws regarding farming and ranching.
Because if 777 passes, it puts a limitation on any new piece of legislation or new administrative rule, but it doesn't keep the legislature from repealing anything. So they could repeal the ban on cockfighting. They could make it easier to have puppy mills. They could repeal the load limits on poultry litter in eastern Oklahoma. They could do that in the legislature. And the people would be powerless to fix it.
Could you please provide an example or two of probable imminent dangers of the bill not passing?
This is about my grandchildren. This is about making sure my grandchildren can continue to farm and ranch and produce food in a very open, very transparent, very regulated, appropriately way.
A lot of people in the audience were still unsure.
No one was sure how it actually protects the rights to farm, and are those rights even being tried to be taken away in Oklahoma? Yeah, we're all as confused as you are.
To clarify, Kelsey says the threat comes from People for Ethical Treatment of Animals, better known as PETA, and the Humane Society of the United States, or HSUS.
If you look at the agenda of HSUS, some of their top leading officials have said, we want meat production outlawed. And they would try to do that with brochures, which is fine, freedom of speech. But then they also want to come in with regulations and laws that make it more difficult for you as consumers to purchase products.
Are you saying you're protecting us from being forced to be vegetarians?
It could be that way. Again, if you look at HSUS, and one in particular, the design they have is to prohibit the production of meat. Their leaders have said that. They're on record as saying that. And that means consumers wouldn't have it to eat. Now, can they pass that today in Oklahoma? No, I don't think so. I don't think they could. Could they pass it in 50 years? I don't know.